The silent streets filled him with relief and caused his knees to sag. He braced himself against the windowsill, staring out hungrily for details. Perhaps it was the woman from the top of the street, Gerald wondered, the one who wore such inappropriate clothes all the time. He was always careful to make a note of her, for completely respectable reasons, of course. After all, if something happened to her, and dressed as she was, it was only a matter of time. The police would need to know when and where she'd passed by, what she was wearing, and... He pressed his face to the edge of the window frame hungrily, staring out as whoever it was moved slowly into view. Gerald internally cursed the power cut that was still ongoing for the lack of his camera's additional zoom. Then he froze. It wasn't the woman from up the street, the one that Sharon called that painted harlot. It wasn't even anyone he recognized, and he knew everyone locally, by sight at least. He stared and stared, mouth dry, as he tried to make sense of the sight before him. It was a man, an old one, and the clothes, they were filthy, clearly covered in dirt? Mud? They looked like the man had been rolling around in the dirt, utterly filthy. They'd been smart once, formal, possibly his Sunday best, but the way he walked, no, he staggered, like he was drunk at this time in the day. But Gerald's eyes flew from detail to detail. The untucked shirt, the filthy hands, and the vacant expression on the face all screamed drunk. But the other details, the gray skin, the empty eyes, the figure that was slowly making its way down the street was anything but a regular drunk. Every instinct Gerald had screamed at him, including those so long buried that he thought their incessant wailing was lost forever. No matter what, this was a figure he didn't want to draw the attention of.
Gerald will need the other suitcase. You know, the one we used for that ghastly trip to York. I'm not leaving my mother's plates behind. They're Wedgwood, after all. My mother always said, Gerald! Gerald!
Sharon screeched at him when he didn't respond. He spun, staring at her, his mouth open, flapping as he tried to articulate the sight he'd seen.
Sharon,
he mumbled, gesturing to the window in warning, only for his wife to storm forward, sweeping the lacy curtain aside to glare outside.
Oh, my God!
She hissed in shock.
I knew it. Broad daylight and... Excuse me?
She screamed, battering one pudgy fist on the window at the figure below.
Sharon, no!
Gerald gasped, reaching for her and trying to drag her back from sight.
Gerald!
She snarled at him, staring in outraged shock that he would lay his hands on her.
What's gotten into you? He's leaning on our car.
It doesn't matter, Gerald tried to say before she shoved him aside, sending the smaller man. Sharon shuffled back to the window, frantically banging on it and tugging at the latch, cursing that she couldn't open the shoddy construction fast enough.
Doesn't matter. Excuse me, get away from that car. There better not be a single scratch. Doesn't matter, indeed. I always knew you were a coward, Gerald. My father, he said...
She went on, alternating between glaring at her terrified husband and shouting through the gap in the window at the figure below. The figure turned, staggering in an excruciatingly clumsy arc.
Look at him, drunk!
Sharon hissed in outraged disgust before waving to make sure the recipient of her ire could see her.
Sharon, please,
Gerald whimpered, lunging forwards and trying to drag her back from the window. She staggered at his frantic tugging on her arm, and the lacy curtains, poorly installed in the first place, came away from the wall, falling and partially covering her.
What the...
She flailed angrily at the pole that had half fallen to hit her in the shoulder.
Help! Help!
She screamed.
I'm being attacked by my own husband.
Gerald frantically tried to shush her, but Sharon, her innate paranoia fueled by decades of contempt for her Weasley husband, drew in a deep breath and finally managed to throw off the curtain, pole and all, with a crash. Her beady eyes lit up with a savage, satisfied glare.
I knew it! I knew you never loved me. What happened to the TV?
She screeched at the shattered front of the large, expensive television to her right. The figure outside was forgotten in her outrage at the damage done to her pride and joy. Even the constant deluge of wrath went silent as she froze, trying to figure out how to blame the ruined screen on her husband, though it was clearly broken by the curtain pole she'd shrugged off.
That's...
She started, raising one shaking finger to point at Gerald. Her other hand waved generally at the broken television. The first scream rang out outside. The pair of them moved as one, frantic to make sure they didn't miss anything. They pressed themselves up against the glass, staring out at the family.